Hey everyone, Danny Greco here. Here are some tips to consider when you're buying a new construction property. Now there's going to be some tips that are positive and some negative things to look at as well. So obviously with any new construction property, you want to understand the timeline of construction. When are these homes scheduled to be completed? How does that align with the goals for the current home that you're in that you might need to sell, the rental that you're in that you might need to have a lease expiring before that purchase takes place? And always know that when it comes with construction, to expect the unexpected, and especially in regard to delays. So be prepared for that. One positive about new construction is when it comes to financing, builders often have financial incentives with lenders that your ordinary mortgage loan officers don't. And we saw this a lot in the last couple of years when interest rates have been elevated, that the standard rate for any mortgage might have been, let's say 7%, but builders might have been offering buy downs to 5% or maybe something even in the 4s. That's a huge advantage builders have over resale home sellers, and something that you could potentially take advantage of as a home buyer of a new construction home. One of the downfalls, I would say, when it comes to new construction is they are very sneaky at getting you to waive your buyer representation. So if you're working with a buyer's agent, make sure to definitely notify them as soon as possible the minute you have interest in any new construction home or property. Because if you innocently reach out to the builder first, visit an open home without your agent before your agent inquiring with those builders, that could technically waive your right to buyer representation. So always make sure to notify your buyer's agent if you're interested in a new construction property so they can make that initial contact and continue that relationship with you throughout the process. Another thing to consider when working with the builder is obviously their reputation. And this is a lot easier to do when you're considering a product from a national home builder. So D.R. Horton, Pulte, Lennar, these are all national home builders that have a huge reputation that it's easy to find. Some of the more local, smaller builders, especially here in the Seattle area, they don't have that kind of volume that you can easily just Google them and see thousands or hundreds of reviews. And oftentimes, a lot of them, it's just a one-off project here or a one-off project here if they're building townhomes or something like that. So if you have access to these reviews and reputations, definitely use those to your advantage. When buying new construction too, pay attention to the builder warranties and timeline. So these are always going to be a little bit different depending on the builder and the timeline, but typically most of them will have a 1-year kind of reassessment period. So if you're noticing things like, which is normal, a little settling, maybe nails kind of poking through the drywall or things like that, make sure to contact your builder maybe even a month or two in advance of that 12-month deadline so they can schedule someone to come out and knock out these issues prior to that warranty expiring. But for anything more major, foundation related, system related, definitely make sure to understand those warranties and timelines as well. Another thing that's a little different is the negotiation process. So first of all, builders will often have their own contracts, which sometimes might only be a fraction of the amount of pages your standard MLS might have, but they essentially include all the same things regarding inspection and financing contingencies. Make sure you read through all of those builder contracts. But if you do submit an offer, typically in our area anyway, builders are pretty unresponsive over weekends and holidays. So they're only likely to respond to any offers on the weekday. So keep that in mind. And as far as negotiations go, sometimes they can be pretty tight on that, especially if it's a newly listed project. I don't often find them budging on the price that often. However, if the project is close to being done and there's 1 or 2 or just a few homes remaining, I have seen where they are quite flexible in getting rid of those remaining properties, and they've worked out to some pretty great deals for my buyers. So just be aware of that.